Hello everybody, welcome back to Max Reviews. This is Braden joining you as always. This is Max Reviews, and today we're going to be talking about Spider-Man 2. And this is going to be part of a Spider-Man rewatch series where I'm going to be going through every Spider-Man movie and the Venom movies in anticipation for Spider-Man No Way Home. Today we're going to be talking about Spider-Man 2. One of my absolutely favorite Spider-Man movies ever. One of the best sequels ever. And in general, just an amazing 10 out of 10 film for me that I absolutely love. This one really improves on everything from the first. And with that said, let's get started with the good about this film. So, for this film, I gotta say I really do love this movie. To elaborate on that, I think that it continues the story amazingly with the first one, and then you go to the second one. It bridges really well between them, and there's no like time jumps or anything. It just starts about where the other one ended, maybe a bit longer, but it doesn't have that big gap. You still have the continuing plot lines, and it just continues them from film to film and does a great job of it. And the main one for this one is the romance between Peter and MJ, and then Doc Ock. So, like, we start this movie with MJ and the poster of her, and it's such a great thing. It begins with a picture of MJ, and then it ends with MJ. So, that is one of the main things about these films. I think the relationships in this movie are some of the best. This movie, it improves on almost every single thing from the first one, I'd say. I want to say J. Jonah Jameson, he is even funnier in this film, I think. Spider-Man, he has bigger arcs in this one, and we get the more payoff in this one, and we get funnier stuff, we get better stuff. Only things that I would say aren't better than the first one in this would be the actual final battle in this one, because the train sequence absolutely is one of the best scenes. I'd say maybe the best scene ever in a Spider-Man movie, but the actual final battle isn't as good as in the first one, and then also in the first one, it's not as good. Doc Ock, I don't think, is as good of a villain as Green Goblin is. So, with that said, let's get going into stuff that's going on here. We got Peter delivering pizzas, and that's just, it's a fun detail right there to have a delivering pizza. Like, he's a regular guy. He's college student, tried to get by, and with all the Raimi films, I think it works well having this realism to it. Slightly, like, you could tell Tobey Maguire, he's not a high school student, he's not really a college student, but you could tell it has this realism to him, like he's actually doing stuff. And all the side characters in this movie are really good. Like, right off the bat, he's delivering pizzas, and then you go to the Joe's Pizza place, and you got Joe, and you remember him. This character that's like, it's a promise, man. And then you have the guy going, my run, and he's a giant thing, and everybody remembers him from Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man 3, and he's such a memorable character. Like, all these characters in these movies, and the Dr. Octopus's friend, Peter's teacher guy, he was supposed to become the Lizard, and it makes so much sense with what Raimi was doing. I'm really sad that we didn't get Spider-Man 4. That would have been great, because you have these continuing threads throughout the first, second, and then finally, after we finish this, the third movie, we have the guy that's supposed to turn into the Lizard, which makes so much sense. He's set up and everything. And then you have Mysterio, the guy who is the wrestler, announcer, and then is also the theater guy in this movie. It's just, Raimi, I think, did an amazing job with these films. These first two films, absolutely, like, 10 out of 10 job with continuing everything, and the stuff in this movie is better, I gotta say. That's, the first one might have that better message with great power comes great responsibility. It might be more classic, but I like this one more. In this movie, you do have better CGI, I'd say, than the first one, and you could definitely tell in the first one that it was pretty bad CGI for nowadays. I don't think it's horrible, but you could definitely tell like this is fake. This isn't really real. But Spider-Man 2 and every movie after that, it's good CGI. It looks actual. This is the big jump from 1 to 2 for Spider-Man and then Spider-Man 2. Big difference between them for CGI, looking better. And then just for story, I really do like this one, where we get Peter, we have him being Spider-Man in the beginning, doing stuff, and also trying to be a college student, and trying to get through life, while also being Spider-Man. He's got to get rid of MJ, and it dives more into that. You have the tension with Harry going on here, with him trying to get Spider-Man, and then you also have MJ having her thing with getting married. Aunt May is losing the house, and like all these things that are going on that works so well with the story and moving forward and straight. For the villain, one of the reasons that Dr. Octopus isn't as good is because he is sort of like a repeat of Green Goblin. He's nothing like him, but if you think about it, the story and plot with him, he's a scientist that experiments on himself, and the experiment goes wrong, and he turns into a villain. And Dr. Octopus does get a redemption arc, but we don't spend as much time with him as we do with Green Goblin. Like, as I said in the first Spider-Man review, please check that out. That first 5 minutes, you have Harry, Green Goblin, Peter, MJ, you have everybody. This movie, you get Dr. Octopus 20 minutes into the movie, which is not that big of a complaint, no. But it isn't as good as Willem Dafoe. I'm still so excited to see Dr. Octopus and Spider-Man No Way Home. I'm going out of my mind. Out of all the villains, Green Goblin returning and Dr. Octopus are the two big ones for me that I'm just like, I cannot wait. Whereas the other ones like Sandman, sort of. Electro, you might be able to improve him a bit. He looks a lot better, definitely, but I don't think that I don't know if you could improve him enough. And then Lizard, I'd like to see like a thing with him, and just the other characters you don't feel as much as Dr. Octopus and Green Goblin, because those are the two big ones, the two ones that you're like, yeah, these that you're gonna just, I know I'm gonna get in theaters, so I'm just gonna lose my mind cheering so excited when I see him. And just in the little TV shots that they shown with Dr. Octopus being like, you think a fancy suit could take me on, or something like that, and like, we got competition to his arms. It's just, yes, kind of a thing. And with Dr. Octopus, I like his character. He's a scientist. He has a wife. You meet him with like his wife and stuff, and he has this idea for helping people, and then he gives Peter advice with MJ and stuff, and then his wife dies, he loses his project, and then he goes crazy because of the arms, and he decides to rob a bank and do all this stuff, and that'll lead us sort of to the robbing of the bank part here, where you have Doc Ock just robbing the bank. And I gotta say, for Doc Ock, he is probably the coolest villain. I gotta say, him out of all the Amazing Spider-Man movies, the Raimi trilogy, and the Venom movies, he's the coolest villain. He's got this really cool look to him. The arms look so interesting and cool. And then his, like, trench coat, he looks so great. And they did a great job with making him look really good. And so him stealing from the bank, it's just, it shouldn't go as well as it goes. Like, there's gold coins everywhere and stuff. But you have Aunt May there. You have Peter Parker going off and the guy being like, wow, that's some hero that you got for a grandson there. And just this stuff with the bank scene is just so fun. And then to see MJ being like, shame on you, and hit Dr. Octopus in the back with her umbrella. It's just, Aunt May in these movies is just she's the classic Aunt May, where I would say she's probably she's the best Aunt May, even though Spider-Man Homecoming, Spider-Man Far From Home Aunt May is pretty good. She's not as good as this one. She's just got this like older aunt kind of a feel to her, that like an actual aunt that you would know. And along with that, the fight on the tower is just so cool to see Dr. Octopus and Spider-Man fight and falling and then going, and then that leads to them Aunt May falling and then Spider-Man getting her. It's such a great sequence. And other plot lines, like as I already said, but I want to talk more about it with Harry, with him. In the first end of the first film, you're like, oh, I can't wait to see what's gonna happen with Harry, and is he gonna really become the Goblin? Is he gonna go crazy? He's Peter's best friend. What is gonna happen here? And he does. He goes crazy, basically. He doesn't go crazy, but he wants revenge against Spider-Man, which is understandable. And he starts out just wanting Spider-Man dead. He's doing good at Oscorp, but he wants Spider-Man dead. He wants to make a good amount of money, and he's friends with Peter. But also he has this rivalry because Peter knows Spider-Man. And you get to the part where Dr. Octopus gives him Peter, and he has him, and he could kill him, and it's Peter. And he's just like, Peter? It's you? And just, this goes so well. And then, like, how would you feel about that if your best friend was the person that you thought killed your father? And so this leads to just this great idea with him, that in Spider-Man 3, you'll hear my thoughts on it when that review comes out, but I still have, like, mixed feelings with how they did it with him, but still, they did a good job with building that up. And, like, one of the final scenes with him meeting Willem Dafoe, his dad, again, and getting into where the Green Goblin stuff is, it's just so great to just hear that laugh again and being like, he's back, Willem Dafoe's here, he's gonna turn his son to fight Spider-Man. It's just so great. And then after that, I think we should get to the train sequence here. So for the train sequence, I just think that is, as I said before, one of the best sequences for any Spider-Man movie, because it's just great action scene and also emotion, where you start off with Doc Ock throwing, well, it starts earlier than that, but Doc Ock stealing MJ from Peter, and then Peter coming in as Spider-Man with Doc Ock on this clock tower, and them fighting, and then they get down to the train and fighting on the train, and then Doc Ock throwing people around, Peter's saving them, and then Doc Ock just leaving, and he's got the train, and he's holding the train on, and just to talk with the people, he loses his mask, and just you feel when he's done, and he stops the train. Like, there's so many of these things in movies where they just stop the train. You know, Spider-Man, he stops, and you feel like that he's out. He's done. He's gonna fall to his death because he's out of energy. He gave it his all. And then the people, they just lift him up, and it's just another thing, as I said in my first review, the New York is a character in this movie. They care about Spider-Man. Like, yeah, it's okay, Spider-Man. And they lift him up, they give him back his mask, and they're like, yeah, it's okay. Whereas, like, that's the thing with Spider-Man No Way Home. New York as a city, they're against Peter Parker. They think he killed Mysterio, and just they're against him for, like, they haven't done that before with a Spider-Man movie, so that could go either very good or very bad. So we'll see. But in this movie, at least, it's such a great moment. And then he slightly gets up, they get him up, and Doc Ock comes on, and he's like, he's mine. And then everybody, they get in front of, they're like, yes, you gotta get through us. And he gets through them, yes, but it's the sentimental part to it. It's the emotions that come to you when he does that you feel. That really helps with that. And so he gives it to Harry, and that goes to that. And then when you get to the final battle, it's, as I said, is nowhere near as good as the train sequence. But you get to the final battle, and Spider-Man and Doc Ock have a little fight. and Peter rescues MJ, and then MJ figures out that it's Peter, and she's just this great shot of her, and she just looks. She doesn't have to say anything. You just understand it. And then Doc Ock understands it's Peter, and then he decides we're gonna drown this, and he drowns in the river, and he dies. And that's when they say that he's gonna come back in Spider-Man No Way Home. I hope they do well to the character. Another thing with Doc Ock, that hospital scene. Who loves the hospital scene? It's just this. It looks sort of like a horror movie kind of aspect to it, with the chainsaws and his arms attacking everybody, and him just realizing, oh, I lost a chip. This is crazy. And him just doing that is very, very cool and creepy at the same time. And with the end, with MJ not coming to the wedding, and after she figures out that Peter is Spider-Man, she leaves, she comes to him, and just this great scene. And then just like when you're going up there and you see J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson stick his out, and it's like, like, that's just what I love about this movie. All those little parts with him and all the characters that you really like and love and understand. Like J.K. Simmons, you have him the thing with like, well, we should probably also dive into Spider-Man losing his powers, with him not having his powers anymore, and that makes sense to me. It doesn't make sense to some people, but I really like it. And J.K. Simmons, you just have this scene, J. Jonah Jameson, he's just like, I was wrong. Spider-Man, he's the only one that could have stopped it. And he's like, he's a menace when he takes it away. It's so great for him as a character and everything. That's why I just love these first two films right here. They're so great. And then the final scene with Spider-Man swinging away, and then we end on MJ. It's so potent, so great, so full circle for the movie, while still having the extra stuff available, with Harry becoming the next Green Goblin and stuff, where stuff still can go around a bit more. There's still room for more, but it ends on such a great level that I'm really disappointed that the third film went where it did. But still, that doesn't take away that this film is such an amazing movie. If I had to get into the mixed aspects of this film, it's gonna be hard for me, but let me think. I don't know for mixed aspects. There's not really a whole bunch that's like, oh, that was horrible, or anything that's like, this is just like one of those perfect movies for me. It might, okay, I think I'll go for mixed aspects. Dr. Octopus, he does repeat sort of like the plot points, kind of the thing that Green Goblin does. And also, probably should mention that they do sort of recreate some of the things with Peter having his powers. It's just like, oh, I got my powers back. I could see the glasses thing. And also, even though it's in the mixed aspects, this is actually a good thing for me. The music cues, that they're so memorable. That you have this thing where he's gonna go out with MJ, and you have the music. He's going to see her play, and then the most memorable one for me, I would call it. Yeah, it's definitely less memorable than Spider-Man 3. Him walking, da-na-na, and him doing the dance. But for me, raindrops keep falling on my head. You know, him doing that. It's so great of a sequence, a little montage over kind of thing, that you really enjoy it and love it. And it's got this great tune to it. So, I am not going to do the bad for this. I don't think there's anything bad with this movie. I don't really think. If I had to do, like, a letter and number score, this movie is an A+ on overall, and then entertainment, it's 10 out of 10. I absolutely love this movie. Spider-Man No Way Home is going to have to be, like, best movie of the year to beat this. I absolutely love this movie. Thank you for watching so much. If you haven't already, like, subscribe, and comment. Leave a comment down below of what your most anticipated thing about Spider-Man No Way Home is, and also your favorite Spider-Man movie, as we're going into the best Spider-Man movies. Now that we're getting over, we get to go into the worse versions of Spider-Man with Spider-Man 3, Amazing Spider-Man 2, and Venom. We're going to go through those in the next few weeks, trying to get those 10 subscribers by the end of the month. I got 2. We'll see. Thank you so much for watching. This is Max Reviews. I'm Braden. Braden out. Thank you for watching.